power as Jimmy, and if Fido's in that lane, you are going to have constant pressure. You're going to be able to rotate to your team quicker, which will sort of make it a lot harder there for Ground Zero to find proactive play around the map. Now,
Halo Blades, Caitlyn.
Yeah. So lethality, Caitlyn, perhaps. I mean, it almost certainly will be that Collector first, but where he goes from there, because obviously the Collector now is just a very high AD item as well as with the lethality.
I think I like the Collector, but maybe just crit after that. I don't think the lethality items are in a good place right now, so I'd really like to see Lemus still just go for a crit Caitlyn, even with the Halo Blades. You get why he's taken the Halo Blades for the Braum passive specifically.
Yeah, and now, ladies and gentlemen, we are loaded into game number 1. It's Ground Zero going up against Frank Esports. Winner of this game will advance to that second stage of the playoffs. And I got to say it, it's a long trip home for either of these teams. Frank from Hong Kong and, of course, Ground Zero from Oceania.
Yeah.
Neither of these teams are going to want to bow out this early. And honestly, the names across this rift are just such massive names in our region.
Yeah, and settle in, because I think it's going to be a long night for these teams. I don't think anyone's getting out of here quickly if last night's games were anything to go off. So many, especially with Ground Zero involved, chance for maybe Lemus to get his Halo Blades off, but takes the headshot on Kaiwing. Ground Zero's games last night pretty much all went to a Soul and an Elder, all 3 games.
Correct, losing one of those early potions already. As Kaiwing did start the queue, I think it makes a lot of sense, right? You're not going to ever be Wing forward.
Okay.
Trade going really well mid. This is not surprising. It's a lane that ultimately you're never going to be actually killing this Yone, but he also will struggle to ever get to that wave. Now, Aggression bot, there's the heal getting used there, as well as the cleanse from Wako. Just not respecting that level 2 potential out of Ground Zero, and it does cost them those summoners. Yeah,
I'm really surprised Karak has gone for the Ignite on the Braum this game. I think Exhaust a little bit underutilized in the meta at the moment. Would feel pretty good with an Exhaust into a Yone and a Gwen.
Yeah.
As this is one of the few games where the blind pick Braum doesn't feel that good, right? You're not up against the double ADCs or any AP, projectile-based champ out of the jungle.
Yeah, I mean, I think it feels pretty good because you have an entire composition from Frank where their only way to fight is just to go forward.
Yeah.
And Braum loves it when teams are just going straight forward into him. So I actually think it's a very good pick. I don't think you're getting as much value in the lane as you generally do as the Braum, but I think in terms of a round out for a team composition, it actually works very well.
Yeah, definitely going to get value. When Braum does his best, it's when his ADCs are engaged on, and then he's able to deny the follow-up damage from the enemy team. As Shrimpfire's already cleared his jungle and is running at this crab and going to be traded for the top crab by Gemini.
Yeah. Also, I mean, this means Jimmy does have to be careful. We saw a lot of early aggression out of Shrimpfire in game number 3 of last night, and it all paid off.
There's no cleanse on Wako.
Very heavily, but yeah, no cleanse on Wako. He is at the tower.
Shrimpfire's here.
I don't know that this can be a dive, but they're certainly looking for it. Kaiwing just blocking that bandage toss capability, and so with that, there is no real look for Shrimpfire. I think well played by Kaiwing. He takes a chunk of damage, but keeps Wako nice and healthy, going to be able to pick up those minions. It's Fico going to take a really bad trade for himself, and while obviously the health is fairly even, no mana on this Corki, and Jimmy with the second wind, with the Doran's Blade, with Absorb Life, and all that good healing that is ridiculously broken and needs to be nerfed ASAP, going to feel pretty good. Now, Lemus, nice 90 caliber there.
Yeah, nice dash from the Caitlyn there. Matchup knowledge from Lemus. As he's found himself missing quite a bit of HP now, and Gemini is here.
Yeah, he is going to be seen on that ward, and so the Ground Zero bot lane will respect it and back on off. This will allow Wako to get a nice early recall as Fido getting looked at. Oh my god, he is just so confident to stand in the face of Jimmy. And again, it's a fairly even trade, but on this kind of health and mana, it's just favoring the Yone.
Yeah, does have shielding built into his kit, the Yone, so always going to do better on these low HP totals. As well as just being a melee champ means he has slightly better base stats. Karak, very greedy, trying to freeze. Uh-oh.
Happy feet, though. Was able to get out of that. Now he's going to recall. He does delay this crash for quite a significant amount of time, and it does mean Lemus is going to pick up the majority of this minion wave, so I think well done. In fact, he's actually cancelling his recall, but tries to cancel Kaiwing's. Won't be able to do so.
Yeah, biggest deal is honestly messing up the tempo of the Frank bot lane, but Kaiwing ends up getting his recall off in the middle of that wave. Yeah, so it's going to be some CS loss for Wako. Sweeper on the Caitlyn.
Yeah, he has to he had to walk so far back because he tried to look for a greedy recall earlier on, but wasn't able to find it because of the advancement from Ground Zero's bot lane. So he does get the recall off now. We'll be headed back to the lane. But
Kaiwing's on the map.
yeah, Kaiwing more than on the map. He's already in this mid lane. Kaiwing, you know, honestly a little bit late by his standards, level 4.
Yeah. Often we see him level 2 making a mid lane gank, but deciding not to. I'm surprised Frank haven't focused more around this mid lane.
Ult trade in this top lane. But,
yeah, Thien no TP.
yeah, and things looking really good for Jiang. I mean, he did get that recall off. It looks like he just got a recall off without even having to use that teleport. So, a disastrous start up top, maybe a little bit of greed in this Poppy blind pick.
Yeah, the stats just so much better on this recall for Jiang. Poppy not actually gaining any stats, just the boots and the tier picked up versus the Amp Tome and the Ruby Crystal for Jiang.
Now, Void Grubs are going to be picked up here by Frank. Shunfire in the area. They do have to be a little bit careful, but able to pick up every single one of them. Was this Maokai, and the Dragon stays on the map as Shunfire. Possibly on the wrong side of the map. Bandage Toss does land. Gemini, though, he is pretty healthy. Another one does connect there. Winter's Bite going to come through, but the flash away. Nimbus Cloak, he gets clipped by that Winter's Bite, but Bramble Smash. It doesn't seem like there's any more play. Bandage Toss should be up very, very soon. Jiang trying to block some damage. Nice work. Actually, he kind of gets his Maokai killed there as first blood by Shunfire. That Twilight Shroud actually getting Gemini hit by the Bandage Toss and gives over first blood there to Shunfire.
I am so confused how that's worked. Poppy wasn't even on the map. I guess Gwen is just not really that useful without her ultimate. They can't fight there at all. On the side of Frank, Shunfire wasn't even level 6. He's level 6 now, and Jiang has no hope of walking up to this tower.
And it was Kaiwing returning to bot lane, whereas Kurak up at the play. Luckily for the side of Frank, Yijiang does have teleport, obviously keeping it from his recall earlier. But this Twilight Shroud, I mean, I expected Jiang to just get hit and be able to flash away, but using that meant it was just Gemini getting hit by it.
Yeah, and it wasn't even really a numbers advantage for Ground Zero. Poppy is on her way here, but she is so far away. It should just be a 3v3, but it's actually Fido with priority in this mid lane. Jimmy heads straight back to mid, not recognizing his teammates are in so much trouble. How does... Oh,
Twilight Shroud.
He shrouds it and it goes through him, so it hits the Maokai. What a grief by Jiang. Pretender laughing it off. Hopefully they're able to just laugh it off. It's not
Gemini
the most
did laugh it off
kill.
too, so...
Yeah.
You saw on the player cam, he was laughing quite a lot. So I think ultimately they realized it was just a sort of funny interaction and they won't be too disheartened.
Yeah. Not really all that impactful of a kill. Shrimfire does get to recall and pick up his Faded Ashes, but was going to do that anyway, and now has no flash on the Amumu on 6, which takes a lot of power out of this ultimate.
And while they did pick up the first blood, Ground Zero, they're certainly not up that much gold, and a lot of that comes from this 20 CS lead that Yijiang's found himself up in that top lane, as well as just slight CS leads elsewhere across the Rift too.
Yeah, Fido down a little XP. Jimmy in the meantime just got to sit mid and farm up nicely.
Gemini maybe going to be able to get both these early objectives. Should bode well for the side of Frank. And
yeah, it seems like they've managed to... Seems like they managed to get some prio in the bot lane for the side of Frank. I thought the Caitlyn Braum would be good for some bot lane prio for a little longer. But for now, yeah, all the objectives going the way of Frank, just the kill on the side of Ground Zero.
And at some stage, Lemus lost flash. So I think Kaiwing being bot actually found the flash, and now it's getting punished. The cleanse comes out. 90 caliber net, yeah, but where can you go now? Lemus, he's just stuck in that alcove. Heal coming through, though, and they're finding a lot of play here onto Kaiwing. Lemus kiting, playing fantastically as the wall does go up, but Lemus is going to go down as Kaiwing who picks that one up, and through comes the curse of the Sand Mami. Wako trying to get away, but the bandage toss will deny it as Kurak now being locked at. It is going to be one kill turned around as Gemini now has to try and run away from this very, very scary Amumu, but another bandage toss and everything going up. Shunfire, he's 3-0-1 on this Amumu.
Wow, and every member of Ground Zero played that fight incredibly well. I don't even know how Shern managed to find that last bandage toss onto the Maokai. Very impressive. And overall, win for Ground Zero. A lot of the kills going to the Amumu, but watch how long Lemus and Kurak are able to delay this engage. Maokai Rakan, I mean, Kaiwing just finds the perfect engage, but Kurak plays this Braum so well, along with 2 traps landing during this fight for Lemus. And then this was a big moment in the fight where Kurak's able to block so much of Wako's damage. Wako flash still gets hit on the edge of this Amumu ulti, and unfortunately killed a Braum, killed a Amumu throughout this. you know, it doesn't feel the best if you're ground zero, but this is kind of looking like a massive Amumu now for a Surenfire.
Very scary. Maybe not exactly where you want the gold to be, but ultimately it's just good to have that gold in any case. It was obviously Kaiwing as well that picked up the kill eventually. Fighter being looked at. Oh, nice. Valkyrie gets him out of that true shot barrage as well as the grand entrance, and Kaiwing takes a little bit of chip damage on the way out. Surenfire going to be able to pick up 3 Void Grubs for the side of ground zero, even out that Void Grub score.
Yep. Feel good about that if you're ground zero. They're a team that's used to getting a lot of these Void Grubs. They've got a 1k gold lead for themselves now, and our concerns about Fido struggling in lane have not really manifest so far this game. Jimian is, getting the better of him, probably doing better in this lane than he should as the Yone, but Fido managed to get a roam off as well, so you got to count that in.
Yeah. Jimian did manage to get a plate for himself, so ultimately should be very far ahead in terms of that gold here on the Yone. We'll see if he's able to actually impact these fights. And we've seen him on the Yone before, right? We know he can, but Ground Zero are a very good team, and it's going to be hard to play up against this Amumu, and honestly the Poppy as a Yone.
Yeah, Surenfire has a Leandri's already. He is itching for a fight with his ulti and flash up in a second.
Talk about itching for a fight. Jiang, and Tien actually cancelling that ult maybe a little bit early as the needlework still coming through, but Tien will be able to make his way out. Still, this bodes well for the lane phase here of Yi Jiang, who is now at a near on 40 CS difference in the top lane.
Yeah, you're never picking Poppy expecting to win your lane, but you're hoping to not go down this much. It was a blind pick. And picked, I guess as a neutralizing pick up against Jiang. Wako does have his teammates nearby. We'll see if they decide to pull the trigger on ground zero. No cleanse, no flash on this Ezreal. And his tower is taking a lot of damage.
Yeah, just suffering a little bit as another plate there claimed by the bot lane.
Oh, Brom's not even on the map.
Oh, Kaiwing. So much damage from this Amumu.
Yeah. It's actually looking for a recall, maybe, Surenfire. Just look at the red wards on the side, on the spot side for Frank.
Yeah, Surenfire just seen everywhere he goes now. Going to get hit by that sapling, but of course it is the locket picked up here early on for Gemini. He has the AP damage in his team, doesn't need that Leandri's.
Thought he might bump into Surenfire for a second there. Not someone you want to be bumping into right now.
Yeah, I mean, again, here's another ward, so they are just tracking Surenfire perfectly either side of Frank Esports, but the collapse is coming down. Wako, very, very weak at this stage of the game. Only the Phage and the Sheen. This blue buff is going to be picked up by Surenfire. There's nothing they can do about it, especially with Gemini recalling there and not being active on the map. Yeah,
and the Great Thief has his blue buff stolen away from him. Surenfire waddling on down. Oh, E used by Wako. Hold on, Surenfire has flash. Gemini is waiting, though. We saw this in the series up against Bliss last night. Gemini just kind of can smell when the dives are coming and overextensions from the enemy team, and he's just there, as you see again.
And look how strong these souls. Yeah, as we head now back into game. Obviously, things looking good for Ground Zero. As I said, 1k gold advantage. They are down that dragon, as the next one will be spawning now in 13 more seconds, but Wako looking for a recall. Hopefully has the Triforce. Not sure if Frank are even going to want to contest this. There's a Mumu now, 3-0-1. Very, very strong is Surenfire, and a lot of that gold advantage pretty much solely on that Amumu. So it is really going to be up to Surenfire to prove that he deserves those kills. Obviously, not really his choice. It just kind of how the team fights played out.
Yeah, second dragon now started up by Frank, and you were hoping that Ground Zero would be able to get some of these early dragons. They're on their way now.
Yeah, team fight is very strong here for Frank as an H's Grass going to come out. Kurak should be able to block that up for his team, but it's a dragon. Take out Jimian! He finds a 3-man engage, and Kaiwing's going to be able to get in 2, and it's a disaster! We have so much gold on the Amumu, and the Amumu's gone. Tien with a fantastic keeper's verdict, but is it enough as Jiang flashes forward? Tien flashes away, does use his headbutt there on the minion to even create more space, but it's Frank Esports and Jimian who pull the trigger on what was an immaculate team fight.
Yeah, Jimian snaps his fingers and instantly takes out, 3 members out of the fight immediately from Ground Zero. Lemus with an item completed would have really liked to participate in that fight, never got a chance. There are a lot, items are completed for the solo laners of Frank here, and it's so difficult to walk into this Maokai. The Maokai Yone synergy, they're all lined up because of the Maokai ulti, and he lands a ridiculous Yone ulti because of it. Wako deadly accurate with these Qs. Even still, Jiang whiffing on the final activation of his ulti there might have taken out the Poppy too. As you see, Lima still doing plenty of damage.
Yeah, certainly was, but it was obviously Jimmy with the most immaculate start to that fight. Obviously, yeah, Gemini puts out that Nature's Grasp, gets everyone into one line, and at that stage, it's a lot easier for Jimmy to just land a massive knock-up and then ult, which he does. Fido now is just getting dove by Jimmy, misses that Q3, though, and with that, actually evens out the trade.
Yeah, do a recall Jimmy, I think, so he just sends it on to Fido, who is now completely out of mana and quite low on HP, so can't really shove at all. And if Jimmy overstays here, he can actually maybe just take this tower or make Fido commit his TP.
Yeah, probably going to look for that teleport out of this Corki. Obviously, Jimmy not having access to his, it's really good to try and get more off the map. Fido is going to use that teleport, but he's using it mid, so this bot lane tower is 100% going down. Jimmy cannot get to this Rift Herald unless he recalls right now, and somehow it's defended for long enough.
Yeah, this should just be the Rift Herald going over to ground zero. You're always taking that trade if you are Frank, though, especially because Jimmy gets to pick up some more waves and start hitting this bot tier to ground zero. You got to do something quick.
Yeah, recall coming through here for TN. He does not have teleport available to himself, so now this becomes a 4v4, and with that, the Rift Herald a lot less certain as Jimmy now making work on that inner tower. Wako constantly pushing in these mid waves, sorry.
Yeah, and Jimmy 200 gold shut down, no kills even. He just has that much gold now. Almost 20 CS ahead of the clock on the Yone.
Oh my.
Ian is running at him.
Yeah, Jimmy might have to commit this ult to get away. Oh, Bandage Toss does go wide. Fire with flash. Not going to commit it though.
Wow, I'm surprised they don't commit to this play when the Yone has not backed for so long. I thought Jimmy was going to get punished for overstaying there, but...
Yeah, they might just be worried they run out of steam, right? Obviously, the Liandry's exists here on Fire, but look at the items that Tien has. He has almost nothing built to deal with this Yone. Yes, Yone does a bit of magic damage, but ultimately, it's going to be majoritively physical damage, especially with that Blade of the Ruined King coming through, so possibly wondering that maybe if I flash forward here, it's going to be an overextend. Be happy you got the ults out. This is going to take a lot of pressure off the map where Jimmy is, and just back off out of that.
Yeah, no item completed for Thean yet. Probably just going to go for the Hollow Radiance so he can kill these waves nice and quickly. There's an extra Ruby Crystal in Fido's inventory.
Yeah.
Ooh, Jimmy tries to predict the Valkyrie out of Fido there, but Fido holds his nerve.
I wonder, I mean, the only argument is he wanted as much power early as possible, but that doesn't even make sense when you could just get a long sword and build towards your mirror mana, so I think it is possibly just a misclick in that shop.
Oh man, and there is just zero progress towards this mirror mana for the Corki. It feels like this champion really comes online at that 2-item spike, and that is not happening anytime soon unless we get some big injection of gold somehow onto Fido. Yeah,
Frank is still hitting gold. Obviously, a lot of that, once again, is on this Mumu versus the Maokai, and I think that bodes well for Frank, considering their carries are ahead. Liam is getting looked at here by Wako. Trades fairly evenly, but with Jiang here, he's not going to be able to follow up any further damage.
Yeah,
but as I was saying, this gold lead, while it exists, and Ground Zero certainly are slightly ahead, they are down 2 dragons. The side lane priority is always going to be in favor of Frank Esports, and all of the gold advantage is just on this Amumu.
Yeah, and this really bodes well for how the series is going to play out for Frank. If they can pick a laner like Yone into the Corki and find themselves up this much CS at this point in the game, especially if Jimmy's going to pilot it and fights that well.
Yeah, no one here to match him on this top tower is... Yeah, Tien is coming, but I don't think Tien can stand up against this Yone. He should be able to defend the tower at least, although it is burning down very low. Jimmy will back on out. Even 1Q is doing so much damage here to Tien.
Yeah, and this is maybe a weakness of having the tank jungle and top lane, is that these lifesteal carries in the Gwen and Yone have a realistic chance of just winning 2v1s.
Yeah, and with that, Tien's going to be able to come down to this dragon if he so chooses, as he was pivoting down there, but now Jimmy's going to claim this top tower. That's more gold onto this Yone, who seemingly is going to be going for that second item, shield bow.
Yeah, Thean was really keen to be at this dragon early. It feels so good when you're there early as the Poppy and can push the enemy team. You know, you can physically force them away from the pit and get your team position.
Teleport's coming through now. Jiang going to be able to back away as Fire looking for him, but the Nature's Grasp coming out. Oh, Bandage Toss goes wide. All your gold's on this Amumu. Has to find something. They do find Jiang. He's stunned up a lot, but he gets hit out. He's actually back to safety in the 3-man. The 4-man coming coming out of Jimmy-In. Everyone getting so low, but so is Jimmy-In. The flash forward, the shield bow. It's blocked up by Kaiwing. Is the ultimate out of this? Caitlyn, 10, able to clean that one up. It's a 4v4, but down will go 10 eventually as Schoenfire and Fido likewise were taken out. Only Lemus and Kurak stand. It's 4 members of Frank, and once again, Frank without that team fight.
I have no idea how Jimmy-In keeps finding these ridiculous Yone ultis. If you find one carry with a Yone ulti, you feel pretty amazing about it in these team fights. He's just finding just about every member of Ground Zero showing up to these fights and putting the entire team on his back, honestly. Third dragon now for Frank.
Third dragon for Frank now. They're one off his Ocean Soul, and that is such an impactful soul.
And yeah, both teams TP very early here. Jimmy-In's here a little bit early, but Schoenfire completely out of position. Look where his Caitlyn is. He lands a nice ulti on the Amumu, but there's no follow-up damage. Fido is so weak at this point in the game, not even able to finish this Maokai off. Doesn't Valkyrie out of Jimmy-In's ulti either. Means that he can't really chase this Maokai. And in these messy fights where you have lopsided numbers, it seems like Frank are just navigating and styling much better. We did need an injection of gold on the Corki, and he did get a shutdown in this fight, though. So one silver lining for the side of Ground Zero.
Yeah, and ultimately gold's still relatively close. 800 gold is now the lead for Frank. But once again, dragons. I don't know how many times I need to say it, but a lot of the gold on the Samumu, and you saw there one mistake out of Schoenfire, and it's so detrimental. Wako just able to free hit that whole time. Jimmy-In, yes, he gets stunned up by that ult from the Amumu, but no one hits him. He's just stunned there. He can't do damage, goes back, finds a 4-man ult, and the team fight is just over at that point. So next dragon, do or die, it feels like, for the side of Ground Zero. We're going to need Schoenfire to really pull off things he was doing yesterday.
Yeah, it's 2 fights in a row now where he's the first person dead with so much of the gold for his team. He was actually the only person on the map with 2 items completed. Kurak just
caught out. He's very much out of position. Down he will go. Now there's a legitimate threat over this Baron, especially with the True Shot Barrage and the follow-up Mystic Shot landing there from Wako. Lemus now half HP, as is Schoenfire. Wako, we've seen him do funny things around the Mumus before, but this time he will not pull the trigger. It is though Jimmy-In and Gemini, that 2-man duo that's lasted 2 years now, starting up on this Baron. Yicheng going to teleport, going to be there for it as Fido looks to match.
Yeah, how do you get in the pit as Schoenfire? You're already half HP. Jimmy-In is harassing you. Yeah,
and Kaiwing's completely stopping you from getting there as Jimmy-In does go back to his original soul tether. So close to getting into the pit. It's a nice ultimate, but Gemini is not going to be able to get the smite. It is Waku who picks it up, and Jiang following up with all that damage. It's 2 kills going over to Frank. It's a Baron for them, only Kaiwing going down, and they've got now 3 minutes to try and get some work on these standing objectives.
I didn't see the HP on that Baron, but it's actually Wako who picks it up with both junglers in range. A little bit scary for Frank, but they end up just picking up a 23-minute Baron that's going to segue them perfectly into this 4th dragon and their soul. Schoenfire here just commits his ulti to kill Kaiwing. You kind of see how good the Samumu can be into the Rakan, but in this situation from so far behind, he needed to get more out of his ulti. Let's see the HP on the Baron. 2k, 1.5, 50 HP.
It went down to 1. It went down to literal 1.
Yeah. And Wako ends up securing it as Gemini uncharacteristically maybe made a mistake there.
Well, I think Wako just not hitting the Baron at any point was also a bit of a funny play. I think ultimately, you know, he used his E to get away from the Amumu, probably needs to go over that wall, hit the Baron at least once or twice as Gemini locked up here. He is going to use that Nature's Grass. True Shot Barrage will come through and land onto 2 tanks. Doesn't do all that much damage, but Gemini is going to be able to escape as Jiang takes that bot lane in a tower.
Yeah, and we're seeing pretty quickly Frank are cleaning up these sides. They were already winning in these solo lanes, so these towers already feel really flimsy before you get the Baron buff. Once they get the Baron buff.
Yeah, now all of a sudden this gold lead has ballooned. 3k since picking up the Baron. It was about 1k before it, but 5k is the lead entirely now.
Yeah, and Jimmy-In going to be zoned off the top lane tower, but that's going to mean they're just giving up mid lane. Wako will take this out very quickly.
QSS now available for Jimmy-In here on the Yone, so going to lose a little bit of effectiveness here on the Amumu as Wako continues to just play so aggressive. Arcane shifting forward as soon as he wants to. Very low on mana though, so maybe having to look for a recall in the near future. Oh, wow. Schoenfire finds the play. Redemption coming through though, and Jimmy-In going to be topped up on health as Kaiwing does manage to make his way out in some way, somehow. They're actually able to escape.
Yeah, I mean, that seemed like a play from Schoenfire, but it might just be too little too late with these QSSs finished up now.
Gwen is immune. Gwen is no longer immune.
Yeah, Jiang has to be a little careful. much better Gwen game from Jiang so far, as Frank are pretty low on HP and mana here.
Yeah, Jimmy going to lose out on his shield bow as well as, Gemini getting shut down here in the mid lane is going to get taken out. Down here he will go, and Fido picks up that much needed gold. Wako is using all of his abilities, has cleanse available, but that's not going to have all that much impact as Jiang finds his way onto the back line. He's finding so much damage. Oh, Gwen loves these fights, and so does Jiang. That's 2 kills. A double kill here for Jiang on the Gwen, and Gemini finds Kurak. It looks like it might just be the ace. Only Gemini going down. Oh, Kurak will survive, but he's the only member alive, as now it's Frank who marched down this top lane and looked to put their stamp on game number 1.
Yeah, this could just be the end. Frank's champions kill towers so quickly. It's Jiang who has a redemption moment for himself on this Gwen now. So many times in this playoffs, we've seen Jiang falter at these points in these games from ahead.
Yeah, Kurak with it all to do, but he's against 4 members and a few minions here as he does manage to flash on out of that grand entrance. But Jiang doesn't care about anything to do with this Brom. He's just hitting this tower. Everyone else now hitting the Nexus. It's game number 1, Frank Esports.
Yeah, they pick up the first game, and it honestly feels like one mistake from Ground Zero kind of sealed their fate around that first Dragon contest where Jimmy manages to land a 3-man ulti off of a nice Maokai ulti from Gemini, and not a synergy I recognized when they locked in the champions. The Sejuani Yone synergy, really obvious, but the Maokai Yone synergy standing out there.
Yeah, and I think it's good. I think that Frank can now, letting Wako get fed up. I think Kaiwing spends a lot more time in that bot lane than we usually see.
Yeah.
As well as we're utilizing synergy between Jimmy and Gemini, because as I said during that game, these two have played jungle and mid together for now 2 years.
Yeah.
And so it just makes sense to let those guys have some time to do something, set up plays that they would usually set up for themselves. We've always known Jimmy to be a Yone player. He